Hello and welcome. You're watching Express News, where we bring you a quick wrap-up of all that's making news from around the world. I'm Samriddhi Goyal. Let's get started. India mourns the loss of the Chief of Defence Staff and 12 others who lost their lives in an Indian Air Force helicopter crash yesterday. The mortal remains are being flown to Delhi. The mortal remains of late Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and 12 others were taken to Madras Regimental Centre from Military Hospital Wellington in the Nilgiris district. A wreath-laying ceremony took place in the presence of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, senior defence officials and other dignitaries. The flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder of the Mi-17V5 chopper that crashed yesterday with CDS General Bipin Rawat has been recovered from the site. Indian Air Force Group Captain Varun Singh is the lone survivor of the military Mi-17V5 helicopter crash in the Nilgiris, has been shifted to Bangalore Command Hospital for further treatment. The Shaurya Chakra award winner is on a life support and his condition continues to be stable but critical. Tamil Nadu Forensic Science Department team reached the helicopter crash site in Kurnool this morning for investigation. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh gave a statement in both the houses of the Parliament on the Tamil Nadu crash that killed country's first CDS, General Bipin Rawat, wife and army officials. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla condoled the demise of CDS Bipin Rawat and his wife Madhulika Rawat in Lok Sabha. Birla said that the country will always remember the contribution by General Bipin Rawat towards the defence preparedness of the country. Noting that the Constituent Assembly met for the first time on this day 75 years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged youngsters to know more about this gathering's proceedings and the eminent stalwarts who were a part of it, saying doing so would be an intellectually enriching experience. Union Minister of State for Science and Tech Jitendra Singh, while answering a question related to Mission Gangayaan, said in Rajya Sabha that India will have its own space station by 2030 and first manned space mission is expected to be completed by 2023. Dr. Jitendra Singh also said the solar mission Aditya is scheduled to be launched in 2022-23. He said the third Chandrayaan mission would be launched next year. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat has said that 276 Jal Shakti Kendras have been set up in various states and union territories so far, including the districts of Kolhapur, Sangli, Ahmednagar, Thane, Jalgaon and Nadurbar in Maharashtra. Shekhawat said all the state governments, including Maharashtra, have been requested to set up Jal Shakti Kendras in every district headquarters as a part of the campaign. Jal Shakti Kendras are to act as a knowledge centre for disseminating information related to water conservation. Shekhawat said Jal Shakti Ministry, in collaboration with Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, has started Catch the Rain awareness generation campaign in 623 districts of the country. The Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia today said in the next 4 to 5 years the number of airports will go up to 250 in the country. Replying to questions in the Lok Sabha, Scindia said in the last 7 years the number of airports have doubled to 130. Civil Aviation Minister said under Udan scheme the government not only provided connectivity for small cities but also constructed 63 airports and heliports. Civil Aviation Minister said the government has not formed an special purpose vehicle for the development of regional transport aircraft. Jyotiraditya Scindia said the government has taken many measures to strengthen the ecosystem for aircraft leasing and financing in the country. The centre said a special provision has been made in the second edition of the Ujjwala scheme for the migrant families to avail new LPG connections. Samyukt Kisan Morcha has announced to suspend their agitation against the three farm laws and related issues. Agitating farmers will start leaving the site of agitation from Saturday. Farmers took the decision to suspend the stir after they received a letter from Government of India with promises of forming a committee on MSP and withdrawing cases against them immediately. Farmers celebrate at the Singhu border following the announcement of suspension of their year-long protest against farm laws and other related issues. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said that Prime Minister Modi will visit Balrampur on the 11th of December and inaugurate the Saryu Nahar Rashtriya Pariyojana connecting 9 districts from Bahraich to Gorakhpur. The Calcutta High Court has quashed the FIR against actor and BJP leader Mithun Chakraborty over his controversial speech during the West Bengal election campaign. Further investigation has also stayed. CBI arrests Vikash Mishra, brother of Trinamool Congress's youth wing leader Binay Mishra, accused in the illegal coal smuggling case. Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha members gherao the Odisha Assembly, demanding the removal of MOS Home Affairs Divya Shankar Mishra from State Cabinet over his alleged involvement in Mamita Meher murder case. Police resorted to lathi charge during the rally in Bhubaneswar. The air quality in the national capital continues to remain in the poor category. The 30-share Sensex on Thursday surged by 157.45 points to end at 58,807.13. The 50-share Nifty also surged by 47.10 points to end at 17,516.85. The yellow metal on Thursday became marginally cheaper, and the prices of gold were trading 39 rupees down at the MCX to end at 48,016 rupees per 10 gram. The silver prices were also down by 235 rupees at the MCX to end at 61,388 rupees per kilogram. The Indian rupee slipped 2 paise to close at 75.52 provisional against the US dollar. Crude oil prices were trading at 0.48% or 26 rupees below to end at 5,442 rupees per barrel. The Central Board of Direct Taxes (CBDT) has issued refunds of over 1,32,000 crore rupees to more than 1 crore 19 lakh taxpayers between the 1st of April to the 6th of December this year. In a tweet, Income Tax India said the refunds of 44,207 crore rupees have been issued in over 1 crore 17 lakh cases, and corporate tax refunds of 88,174 crore rupees have been issued in over 1 lakh 99,000 cases. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI, has directed Starlink, the satellite internet division of billionaire Elon Musk's rocket company SpaceX, to stop taking pre-orders in India without necessary authorization. Starlink last Friday had said that it will apply early next year for a commercial license in India to provide broadband and other services. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has suo motu floated a consultation paper on ease of doing business in telecom and broadcasting sector to identify various concerns in the existing processes and suggest measures for the reforms required in the regulatory policies, practices and procedures in the sectors for creating a conducive business environment in India. The vaccination coverage of India has surpassed the landmark of administering 130 crore doses so far. A total of 80,86,910 vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours as per provisional reports till 7 a.m. today. More than 140 crore vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far. Over 19 crore balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states, union territories to be administered. India's active caseload has fallen below 95,000. The active caseload stands at 94,742. The active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases, currently at 0.27%. It is the lowest since March 2020. The recovery rate currently stands at 98.36%, which is the highest since March 2020. A total of 8,251 recoveries were reported in the last 24 hours, which has increased the number of total recoveries to 3,40,97,338. A total of 9,419 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Daily positivity rate at 0.73% is less than 2% for the last 66 days. Weekly positivity rate is at 0.74% and less than 1% for the last 25 days. A total of 65.19 crore total tests have been conducted so far. The world continues to battle COVID-19 pandemic. So far, over 26 crore, 81 lakh and 49,000 cases have been reported worldwide. The number of recoveries stand above 24 crore, 13 lakh and 58,000 globally. The deadly virus has so far claimed over 52 lakh and 95,000 lives globally. The United States continues to remain the worst affected nation by the pandemic. Over 5 crore, 4 lakh and 22,000 cases have been reported so far in the country, while over 8 lakh 13,000 people have lost their lives due to the virus in the United States. Governments need to reassess national responses to COVID-19 now and speed up vaccination programs to tackle Omicron, though it is too early to say how well existing shots will protect against the new variant, according to the World Health Organization. As per WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the variant's global spread suggests it could have a major impact on the COVID-19 pandemic, and time to contain it is now before more Omicron patients are hospitalized. The WHO has also said it would publish a review of its stance on booster doses within days, but that with vaccination rates still worryingly low in much of the developing world, administering primary doses rather than boosters remained its priority. Pfizer and BioNTech have said a booster jab of their coronavirus vaccine promises to be an effective defense against the new Omicron variant. 3 doses provide a similar level of antibodies against Omicron to that of 2 doses against other variants, the company said after a small study. In a statement on Wednesday, Pfizer Chief Executive Albert Bourla said protection against the variant would be improved with the 3rd dose of the jab. However, Pfizer and BioNTech noted that the results are preliminary and said they would continue to collect data and evaluate real-world effectiveness. The Democratic-controlled U.S. Senate on Wednesday approved a Republican measure that would overturn President Joe Biden's COVID-19 vaccine or test mandate for private businesses, with 2 Democrats joining Republicans to back the initiative. The 52-48 vote sends the legislation to the Democratic-led House of Representatives, where it faces strong headwinds, while Biden has threatened to veto it. Brazil's authorities will not implement a COVID passport as proof of vaccination, a decision already aggravating both Brazilian people and experts. Infectious disease specialist Roberto Medronho said it was incredible the government refused to enact a measure that keeps travelers and residents safe. Medronho added that those without COVID-19 vaccines to avoid visiting other countries as they pose a risk of infection for themselves and others. Brazilian citizens echoed the sentiment, saying the government's position was a disaster and the accumulation of irresponsibility. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he was starting a so-called Plan B for England, including guidance for people to work from home to slow the spread of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. From this Friday, the legal requirement to wear a face mask will be extended to most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas. Also, a COVID pass will be mandatory to access nightclubs and places with large crowds. As the government set out Plan B, businesses will be given a week's notice on the NHS COVID pass requirements, so the new rules will come into force in a week's time. Outlining the new guidance, Johnson also introduced daily tests for contacts instead of isolation. British researchers on Wednesday started recruitment for a clinical trial to test antiviral COVID-19 treatments for use in people early on in the disease who are at higher risks of complications, starting with Merck's Molnupiravir. Britain became the first country in the world to approve Molnupiravir. US President Joe Biden will host a virtual summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today to debate, including other topics, the outcomes of his discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Biden's government maintains daily interaction with top Ukrainian government leaders. United States President Joe Biden said on Wednesday, putting American troops on the ground in Ukraine to deter a potential Russian invasion was not on the table, and that he hoped to announce a meeting with Russia and other NATO countries by Friday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday welcomed US President Joe Biden's personal role in trying to attain peace in eastern Ukraine in his first comments after Biden held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin a day earlier. Speaking at a news conference, Zelensky also hoped that Ukraine and Russia could agree a new ceasefire and prisoner exchanges when their representatives held talks on the conflict in Ukraine's Donbas region. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia would send proposals to Washington within a week to follow up his talks with US and President Joe Biden on Ukraine. Putin told reporters the talks had been open and constructive. The Nobel Prize for Medicine was handed out to American scientist David Julius and Ardem Pataputia for the discovery of receptors in the skin that sense temperature and touch and could pave the way for new painkillers. The Nobel Prize for Economics went to economists David Card, Guido Imbens for pioneering natural experiments to show the real-world economic impacts in areas from minimum wage increases in the US fast food sector to migration from Castro-era Cuba. Canada has joined Australia, Britain and the United States in a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing on Wednesday to send China a message over its human rights record. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told reporters that Beijing would be aware of long-standing Western concerns about human rights in China. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said there will be effectively a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. No ministers or officials are due to attend. Johnson said he typically did not support sporting boycotts but revealed there were no plans for government ministers to attend the Games. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach continued to downplay the potential impact of the boycotts, dismissing the diplomatic boycotts as purely political. He said he was focused on the fact that the athletes from each country will still be competing. Russia's Ministry of Defense published a video on Wednesday depicting French warplanes in air supposedly above the Black Sea's international waters. The ministry stated that jets were heading towards the Russian border and several Russian military jets, Su-27, escorted them until they turned around. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reached Doha on his first visit since Riyadh and several Arab allies imposed an embargo on Qatar in mid-2017 and set off a bitter dispute that was resolved only in January. He was received on arrival by Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and the two leaders held meetings on Wednesday evening. The United Arab Emirates will shift to a working week of 4.5 days with a Saturday-Sunday weekend from the start of next year to better align its economy with global markets, but private companies will be free to choose their own working week. In Germany, Social Democrat Olaf Scholz swore in as Germany's next Chancellor by Parliament on Wednesday, shortly after deputies elected him to succeed Angela Merkel. 63-year-old Scholz has served as the Vice-Chancellor and Finance Minister in coalition with Merkel. Earlier, he got a clear majority of 395 votes from lawmakers in the Bundestag lower house of the Parliament. In Germany, a man named Leon Schiepers has put 40,000 Christmas lights to decorate his home in Germany's Moyes. He says that it is less than the number he usually puts owing to the pandemic. Two tiaras believed to have belonged to French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte's first wife Josephine sold for more than $760,000 at an auction on Tuesday. Set with engraved gemstones, the early 19th century pieces are part of matching jewelry sets or parures and were offered in fact as a part of auction house Sotheby's treasures sale. One tiara in gold and enamel and set with 25 carnelian intaglio sold for £450,600. The second golden enamel tiara, featuring a 5-head cameos of Zeus, Dionysus, Medusa, Pan and Gaia of the ancient Greek mythology, sold for £126,000. A mummy found in Peru and thought to be between 800 to 1200 years old is now on display at San Marcos University in Lima, which was unearthed in November by Peruvian archaeologists from an underground tomb on the outskirts of Lima. The human remains were surrounded by pots, ceramics, gourds containing vegetable remains and stone tools. The pre-Incan mummy was in a fetal position and tied with ropes, which was probably a local burial rite. Ancient artifacts looted and smuggled out of Iraq after the US invasion in 2003 were put on display in Baghdad on Tuesday. Among the artifacts returned by the US was a 3,500-year-old clay tablet bearing part of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the ancient Sumerian tale believed to be one of the world's first pieces of literature. The tablet displayed at the Iraqi Foreign Ministry headquarters was handed to the Irani embassy in Washington by the city's Museum of the Bible. 1 million turtles were released into a river in the Amazon border between Bolivia and Brazil in an attempt to preserve the species. Amazon river turtles have been losing the battle against climate change and human activity that threatens their ecosystem, directly affecting their survival. Since 2007, biologists and volunteers on the banks of the Itines River in Bolivia and the Guapor on the Brazilian side have formed a binational project to protect the species. Their job mainly consists of the removal of turtle nests hatching in the sand, which are in danger of drowning if they do not act quickly. At the ongoing Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, Sanket Mahadev Sargar secured a gold medal. Jhili Dala Behara bagged a silver medal in the women's 49 kg category at the ongoing 2021 Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships. Manchester United produced a lackluster display to draw 1-1 against Young Boys in their final Champions League Group F match at Old Trafford. Barcelona signed off on their worst Champions League campaign in 2 decades as another comprehensive defeat at the hands of Bayern Munich sealed elimination at the group stage. Juventus progressed to the Champions League knockout stages as group winners after their comfortable 1-0 victory over Malmo. Champions League holders Chelsea blew the chance to top their group as they were held to a 3-3 draw against Zenit St. Petersburg. Atalanta's decisive final Champions League group match against Villarreal was postponed due to heavy snow. The two sides will have to wait to find out their fate against after English referee Anthony Taylor called off the match. Tottenham Hotspur's home Europa Conference League games against Rennes has been called off due to the number of coronavirus cases in the squad. Travis Head smashed 100 to put Australia on top in the ongoing first Ashes test against England. And Travis Head's ton put Australia on top as Australia ended day 2 of the ongoing first Ashes test at a score of 343 for the loss of 7 wickets and a lead of 196 runs. That's all we have for you in this edition of Express News. Do stay tuned into DD India for the latest news updates. Thanks for watching.